All of our productions at GCTV are sponsored in part by Bay State Health, providing the care you and your family need when you need it, close to home. Visit them online at baystatehealth.org. Greenfield Savings Bank. Visit them at 400 Main Street in Greenfield. Call them at 774-3191 or go online to greenfieldsavings.com. Greenfield Community College, providing access and excellence in higher education in the Pioneer Valley. Visit them at gcc.mass.edu. The Hammond Family. The Hammond family are longtime supporters of Greenfield Community Television. New Fortune Chinese Restaurant on the Mohawk Trail in Greenfield. Visit them online at newfortunema.com. Call them at 772-0838 and check them out on Facebook. Real Cleaning Services, cleaning Hampshire and Franklin County since 1972. We don't cut corners, we clean them. Check them out online at realclean.com. Call them at 413-422-1143. People's United Bank, located at 45 Federal Street in Greenfield. You can call them at 774-3713 or visit them online at peoples.com. The Solar Store of Greenfield, replacing fossil fuels and nuclear power one home at a time. Visit them at 23 Fisk Ave. Call them at 413-772-3122 or visit them online at solarstoreofgreenfield.com. Thank you to our sponsors for supporting all of GCTV's productions.
Welcome to the council meeting of April. Tom, welcome. Glad you're here. Just a couple of things. Want to welcome Zach Turner, from Buckland. Zach, raise your hand. Let everybody know you're here. Okay. Welcome. Liz Jacobson Carroll is taking Rebecca's place tonight. She's here. Welcome her, please. Also, our new finance director is here with us tonight, Claire McGinnis. Welcome, Claire. We'll start off with the roll call. Liz?
Yes. Ashfield. Berniston.
Here.
Buckland.
Here.
Charlemont. Coleraine. Conway.
Here.
Deerfield.
Coming. Not here yet.
Irving.
Here.
Gills. Greenfield.
Here.
Hawley.
Here.
Heath.
Here.
Leverett. Here. Lyden. Here. Monroe. Montague. New Salem. Northfield. Here. Orange. Rowe. Here. Shelburne.
Here.
Shutesbury. Sunderland.
Here.
Warwick. Here. Wendell.
Here.
Whately. Here. Regionally elected rep, Bill Perlman.
Here.
And regionally elected rep, Jay DeBucchio.
Here.
And we have a planning board member.
Here.
That's it. 19 people and 65.407% financial.
Thank you, Liz. Okay, the remaining meetings for this year, which are always in this room, are July 19th and October 18th. Please mark your calendars with those dates. You'll notice that our council updates have a new format. The staff has divided the council updates into 10 categories, which will hopefully make it easier for council members to hone in on the topics and projects that are of greatest interest to them. The format will be used to also seamlessly create a quarterly newsletter for the organization that will contain highlights and be less comprehensive than this document. Your feedback on the new format is appreciated. So please get in touch with Linda or the staff members for any comments or suggestions you have on that format. We also want to, has everybody had a chance to go over the minutes of the January meeting? Any changes or additions to the minutes? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the January 25th meeting? Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have one abstention.
Two.
I wasn't here.
Three.
Okay. 3 abstentions, okay. At our January meeting, we had a discussion on forming an ad hoc voluntary committee for climate change and clean energy issues. I want to ask Beth Adams for an update on the status of her ad hoc voluntary committee. Beth?
Hi, everyone. This is, as you can tell from the weather we've been having, the climate emergency is with us. And it has a trickle-down effect, or maybe an ice meltdown effect to local communities. And so it behooves us to help FRCOG continue its excellent work that it's doing on mitigating and reversing climate change, and also with accommodation strategies. So what I'm asking for, I'm going to pass this around. We aren't ready at this point after a couple of meetings, just a couple of meetings since the last time. Everyone's so busy. We get on conference calls, we have some face-to-face meetings, but most of it is on conferencing, and sometimes it's even individual conversations around the topic. Some communities are doing a lot, some communities are doing a little. Part of our goal will be to share information from communities as well, what they're doing. Not everyone has an energy committee. Sometimes it comes through conservation commissions or select board directly. So I'd like those of you who might be interested in serving in this way to, we'd like to have a couple more people on this committee. So, especially those of you that are doing quite a bit. Everybody have a pen? Yeah, so, does anyone have any questions about this? I gave you the proposal, the updated proposal. I couldn't quite get to Carolyn Ness, who was going to be here and speak to it this evening, but we had a conversation this morning. This also should have been from both of us because we were particularly influential, and the other person that's also still committed is Stephen Ellis. And so it's a matter of working with council members and their communities and FRCOG to work on this direction. And it's a process.
Thank you, Beth. And Carolyn is expected a little later,
Yeah.
so maybe she'll have some comments. The object of the ad hoc voluntary committee is to formulate some objectives, and for the council to form a special committee from that ad hoc committee. So hopefully by the next meeting they'll have enough to vote on making it a special committee. All right, next item on our agenda is the executive committee update. Bill?
Yep. Just a few items. We resolved a road discontinuance petition by discontinuing a road in Hawley so that the road can be rebuilt by DCR. We also reviewed staff advocacy letters regarding the Cannabis Control Commission legislation, state rail plan, and governor's housing legislation, all of which we made comment on and submitted to appropriate state legislators. We've started the review of the council's lease with the FRTA in this building. And we're looking at future costs that the building will incur as it ages and various possibilities from some revenue sources for the building. This is the beginning of that process that you're going to have to report at this point. We also had a request from a homeowner to allow a house to be moved along a county road. This is in Greenfield, and it's the road just before the circle leaving town to the right, the road that leads to the registry and the Applebee's. He's got a house which he wants to move a few hundred feet up the road, and then on the other side of the road at some point in the future. And there are other challenges he has to meet, but as far as we're concerned, if he wants to move his house, that's fine. So we gave him permission, just indicating that the only thing we would give him permission for is to move the house, where he has wires and curbs and other things to deal with those with other agencies. And that's about it for executive committee.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill? Okay. Next on the agenda is our executive director update. Linda?
I'm going to start with 5 updates that were not in the council updates, and then I'm going to highlight some things that were in the council updates, but it was particularly long council updates, so I'm setting a timer so I don't talk too long. So when it goes off, I'm done. Number 1, the opioid task force has their Intercept Zero report, some information on upcoming Narcan trainings, and their annual report. So do you want to hand them out? Do you want to get them, come up afterwards? Come up afterwards.
Yeah.
Says Tom Feinkevitz. I do what Tom says. Next week, the COG's annual report. Do you believe that, Tom? Next week, the COG's annual report will come out. We will have 5. We've done it the same way we've done the last couple of years. Each town will have an individualized annual report that will talk about regional things that we've done, and then the last 2 or 3 pages are things that we did for your town. We are getting printed 5 copies for every town. We will deliver them or mail them, whichever is easier for us, sometime in the next couple of weeks. If you need more for your town meeting, or if you want just what we've done for the town, please let us know. We'll make more. Last quarter, we talked about the Housing Choice Initiative. I showed you the map and the work that we were doing to try to get the state to recognize that the Housing Choice Initiative doesn't work for small towns, and especially towns that have slow population growth. We did submit our recommendations formally through the Rural Policy Advisory Commission. Have not had formal word back, but have been told that the administration believes there is a housing crisis in Massachusetts, and every community must do its part in producing new housing. So our next effort will be to show that the housing crisis exists, the housing crisis as they define it exists in eastern Massachusetts, and that there are very different conditions about housing and actually housing vacancies in many parts of western Massachusetts. So I will keep you up to date on that. We got some amazing good news today. I don't remember if we talked about this at our last meeting, but part of the recent federal tax cut package included opportunity zone designation and census, low-income census tracts could be designated opportunity zones. There were census tracts in Greenfield, Montague, Orange, the combined census tract of Irving, Wendell, and Warwick, and the combined census tract of Heath, Holly, Rowe, Monroe, Charlemont, Coleraine. And we helped all of the towns submit applications and found out today every eligible census tract in Franklin County has been designated an opportunity zone. That's amazing because only 10% of the eligible tracts in Massachusetts were going to go to rural towns. So super happy about that. The final thing that's not on the list is one of the DLTA projects that we talked about was shared IT, and a couple of towns expressed interest in shared IT. It's a challenging issue because it's hard to manage how to get IT technical support in a way that you can figure out how to budget for it and make it not bankrupt the COG or the towns. One way that we could do that is to think bigger than just IT technical support and instead think about creating a shared IT network that could, towns could have their files on in an off-site network. That then I think would make IT technical support more feasible, and we could probably try to get some municipal IT grants or efficiency and regionalization grants to pursue that. How would I find out if more towns are more interested in that? No one interested? Green. You're interested?
County network?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. No, okay. Maybe. All right, we'll get you more information. I only have 5 minutes left now. We found out today that Secretary Beaton, Executive Office of Environmental Affairs, will be in this very room next Tuesday from 3 o'clock to 4:30 to talk about the Massachusetts Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. It will be an information session. So far, Buckland, Coleraine, and Montague are working in the MVP program, but if you want more information, you can contact Peggy or Kimberly or come visit Secretary Beaton. Did you hear that you got the Opportunity Zone designation?
Yes.
Everyone in Franklin County.
That's fantastic.
It's unbelievable. Super exciting news. Animal control collaboration, we're working on that right now. We have the expressed interest from Buckland, Charlemont, Coleraine, Heath, Leverett, Monroe, Rowe, and Shelburne. If anyone else is interested in looking into that, please let Phoebe know. We opened up proposals for electricity aggregation,
We did.
and Bob's going to tell you about it.
The electricity aggregation project, there are 13 towns that expressed interest in moving forward. That's a process where if your town meeting has already voted, or if you take a town meeting to ask the town to authorize or select board to move forward with essentially grouping all of your residents and businesses that aren't on some other contract already, that are using the basic default service, bring them together, create a larger load, and you can purchase your own electricity supply. So that's the concept that we're working with. Those 13 towns appointed a representative or some alternates as well to, in some cases, to a selection committee. That committee put together a request for proposals for an aggregation consultant. So that's a professional firm that essentially all they do is aggregation. So we opened proposals. We had one proposal from the Colonial Power Group. The selection committee has reviewed their proposal. Yesterday, they reviewed that Colonial Power Group, and there's consensus approval to award to that Colonial Power Group. So I need to talk to And we have about next steps for making that award. But we're moving forward with that, and what the next steps will be that I will be sending out some information to the select boards in those 13 towns. I'll also prepare another mailing to select boards in towns that don't already have an aggregation plan and might see if they're interested in jumping on at this point. Anybody can join up until the time that the bids are issued for electricity supply. So we'll be sending out more information. We have a template contract that Donna Nickel, town council for some of you, reviewed. That would be a contract that could be signed with the Golden Power Group. So we're providing that as well. So we're at the point where it's now going to be handed over to Colonial to work with each of the towns to move forward to create an aggregation plan, get it through the Department of Public Utilities for approval, and then buy some electricity. Yeah.
The first meeting explained to me that there's some options for towns that, go into a lot of detail, but it might be interesting for people to find out just what some of those options can be.
In terms of purchasing of electricity.
Especially clean energy options.
Right, when you get to the point where you're procuring the actual supply of electricity, you put together a description of what type of power you're looking for. As you can imagine, across 13 towns, there's sometimes a wide range of interest. Some want, absolute lowest price, no matter what. Some are interested in using this process to try to encourage development of more sustainable green energy in Massachusetts in particular, across New England if possible. So this will be something that the towns will then have to work with the aggregation consultant to try to figure out what's in the best interest of all the towns. I'm anticipating there will be a basic rate that will be what the towns everybody will opt into, but then there could be another level or two of green power that they could opt up to. So it's I'm not an expert on how that all gets put together, who the power group is. So they will be working with the towns to try to figure all that out. But certainly there's going to be an attempt to try to make all the towns happy in terms of what they're trying to accomplish through this project.
I will be super quick with three final things. Our Homeland Security Program is coordinating with Amtrak Police to do a training on a passenger rail mass casualty incident. And that training, it will be a multi-day training based on different disciplines. As we advocate for an increase in passenger rail, we obviously increase the possibility of Amtrak problems. So if you can get your first responders to that, that would be great. It's traffic counting season soon, because soon it will stop snowing and traffic counting season will begin. If you need any traffic counts, please contact our transportation planners. And if you have not yet heard or met Dave Roberts, he's our new building inspector. He's overlapping with Jim Cerrone through June 30th, and then Jim Cerrone will retire, and Dave will be working with many of your towns. So please welcome him and seek him out when he's in your towns working for you. And I'm done.
Thank you.
Unless there's questions.
Question for Linda? Okay. Next item on the agenda is our planning board update. Jim Bassford. Jim?
I will be equally short, I hope. The board continues to explore the issues surrounding recreational marijuana, and the planning board members are sharing their community's approach to the new land uses associated with that industry. And the FRCOG staff are working with a number of communities to draft bylaws. Seems to be a continual flow. Planning board continues to track FRCOG relicensing of the Northfield Mountain Pump Storage Facility as well. Another thing that seems to go on forever, but that's pretty much it for us.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? All right, next item on the agenda is the Personnel Committee update. Bill Pearlman.
Like the Bears, the Personnel Committee has come out of the celebration, and we have reviewed our personnel policy with one sort of large issue in mind, and along the road have looked at some of the others. So we're presenting tonight the first reading of some changes to the personnel policies. We'll come back at our next meeting for the second reading. But here is basically what they are. In terms of, I'm hoping that people do not want me to read this whole thing. Taking that sort of for granted. But in terms of compensation and salary adjustments and reclassification, we are looking to continue the present practice of the executive committee, the executive director, in consultation with the personnel committee chair, to make salary adjustments and also potentially grade changes. None of these are large, all of them fit within the budget, but these come up periodically through the year. There are 2, 3 maybe.
Usually less. It's really, the
Yeah.
idea is that
Once in a while.
when we know that another organization is trying to take our staff from us, we sometimes are in a situation where we'd like to be able to make competing salary offers within budget constraints.
The second one is on longevity payments. We had last year looked at how to reward longevity, and last year the annual compensation was going to be $1,000, but we are changing that to $500. We have a lot of people who've been here a very long time, and we wanted to make sure that we can afford it. And the longevity payments do not, will not increase with cost of living or any other increases. They remain the same. Personal leave, we changed the wording just to make it a little bit more understandable. In terms of personal days, there are 3. One is awarded at the date of hire, and we have changed the wordings that 1 additional day will accrue if the employee is employed by November 1st, and 1 additional day will accrue if employee is employed by March 1st, thereby guaranteeing that people have at least 1 and can build up to 3 over the course of the first year. The new policy has to do with disaster service leave. We have a number of employees who have special training in disaster response, and they have, over the years, responded to places like Puerto Rico, New Orleans, various places where there have been larger disasters, either hurricanes or other problems. It was a little up in the air as to how they get compensated for their time, what benefits they retain, and what, if any, benefits are lost. So there is a team that goes, several teams that go from Massachusetts called the Incident Management Action Teams. And they're usually 4 or 5 people. We have 2 on them. So that we're viewing this differently from our regular outside employment policy, because these are emergency circumstances. We do say that the leave requires pre-approval. And that is whoever it is requesting the leave will get approval from our executive director. We are limiting the leave to 20 days per fiscal year and limiting it to no more than 10 days at a time. So if somebody gets called, let's say to Puerto Rico, which happened just recently, they could go down for 2 weeks and then would have to be back. If there's another 2-week period, they would be allowed to do that, but no more than a total of 4. Total of 20 days. The IMAT teams get paid by the federal government, I think, or the state. It's one of the disaster agencies. So the question is how we would deal with that. So we would not be paying the staff a regular salary, but the staff can use paid or unpaid leave or a combination of both. Staff can be paid and can use benefit time, or they can request unpaid leave. And unlike unpaid leave in the rest of the policy, in recognition of service to the country, we will continue to cover health insurance premiums, and the staff will continue to accrue benefit time. We're not looking to have people penalized for putting in this kind of service, which can be very difficult and in some cases quite stressful. However, the employees on leave are not eligible for workers' comp, and because they would be covered by whatever agency they're working for. So that's the policy summary. The individual language is in the handout on the second page, which you can read. We're not voting on anything tonight. This is just the first reading of this. This will come back for the second reading of the vote in July. So if there are any questions, we're happy to try to answer.
Thank you, Bill. Next item on our agenda is a Finance Committee update. Lynn Sidley. Lynn?
The Finance Committee met once since the last meeting. We did a few amendments but for the budget. The first one was whenever we're trying to budget for FMLAs and things like that, it's kind of a crapshoot. You just don't know how much you're going to need to budget. And we recognize that it's going to be short. So the Finance Committee approved increasing the sick time line in the pooled budget by $15,000. It's expected that the indirect rate will cover that, so there's really no major, we don't have to bring it to the council for a vote on that because it should be absorbed in the budget. The second thing was kind of a little whoops. Basically, we tried to double take out the OPEB amount. We had recognized that there was going to be some retirees and we were going to pay them directly rather than from OPEB. We were going to take it directly. But then we also took it from the OPEB account. So we have to increase that OPEB line again by $33,292. We did. There should be revenue that will absorb that at this point in time. We'll see how things come out at the end of the year. So again, we don't need to ask you at this point for a budget adjustment. The third has kind of, it's transfer of unrestricted fund balance to capital reserve. Linda kind of hinted at this. This building, we're starting to age. There has been some funds available through the FRTA to do some of the capital-ish, I'm going to put parentheses, work over the last few years. But we've also recognized that we really need to start setting aside a capital budget for bigger repairs, roof repairs, things down the road. And rather than waiting until it's an immediate problem, we wanted to kind of get a little bit of money tucked away for those events. So in this case, we will be asking the council for approval of transferring from the unrestricted fund balance to the capital reserve. Right now, our unrestricted fund balance is $640,320. So if we approve this amount, the transfer would be $144,988 that we would be asking for. And that's basically the amount that we've depreciated equipment and things over the last year. So
Years since moving in.
right, from the last, yeah. So the fund balance would be reduced to $495,332, which is still a really healthy fund balance. And this way we'd have some capital reserves set aside for those future issues. So in that case, we would need a motion to transfer the funds from the undesignated fund balance to the restricted capital reserve. And is there anyone interested in making such a motion?
I'll make it.
Second. And we should qualify that with a dollar amount of $144,988.
I just had a question. What are we going to do on the app? Is this going to be like the amount we want to do every year, or is it going to be an average, or what was your recommendation?
At this point in time, because this amount had been depreciated, that's why we chose this dollar amount. We're going to have to wait and see how the budget plays out each year on what we would recommend for a capital. And, we haven't nailed down any particular dollar amount. It will be something we'll have to look at each year as we get into budget season.
We have asked the FRTA to give us a list of how they have spent the money that they've had on smaller capital improvements, so we can have a better sense of what future costs could be. And we've also asked them to give us a long-term kind of life expectancy for the larger, more expensive aspects of the building, so that when we're developing future budgets, the Finance Committee isn't picking a number out of the air, but has some knowledge and data behind it. We haven't received that yet.
What is the amount of interest that for each account? Is it the same? Is it different? And what bank are these funds being held at? Is it a local bank?
That would be more of a clear question, but I would guess that they're all the same interest.
The funds are generally all commingled, with the exception of OPEB, and they are all invested locally.
Good job, Claire. Claire's been here a month.
Jim, how long is the remaining lease?
We have a 30-year lease with 2 10-year extensions. So, and we moved in 2012, and it's 2018 now? 24 more years. 2062.
Mr. Mayor?
Do we share on a percentage basis with FRTA and how the repairs are made? What is that percentage, and is it in the lease?
It is in the lease. It's based on the amount of the building that we use, and we currently pay 60% of interior costs and 50% of exterior costs.
So the transfer would equal twice as much for repair and replacement.
Depending on what it is that we're doing, I'm not sure I understand that.
So if we're going to transfer 140,000 more or less, then it's 280,000 or 250,000 worth of repair and replacement costs.
Okay.
And then, is this a revolving fund? You know, if it's a, what do they call it, 44?
No,
51 and a half?
it's not a revolving fund. A reserve is a special fund carried in the general ledger that is reserved for only that purpose.
Then will we have a cap with this
Do we make transfers annually forever with or without repair? Is there going to be a cap to that account?
We have, it depends on what we hear from the FRTA on what our future costs might be. I would assume eventually we aren't going to keep it rising forever if we don't need that money. And the budget itself and the list of the long-term, like any capital plan, we kind of want to figure out how much we would need for that. We aren't there yet, that's for sure.
No, my concern is basically in the future assessments for the community. So if you're going to have a certain amount of money in the unrestricted fund that can be used for anything, and now you're going to have another fund that's going to be for repair and replacement, some caps should be developed so that we don't keep filling up, or as some of my counselor friends might say, who often say to me, overtax the taxpayer to put money aside.
Well, generally, we try to keep the fund balance to in the 450,000. That's kind of where it's been, and it's higher than that now. So that's why we figured we should take some of that money and set it aside for capital improvements. But generally, it's been running, and we're happy with that level of 450 in the fund balance. If something major comes up, you've got some money there. That may not be necessarily capital, most of it's probably capital related, but there may be other instances where you might need a sum of money, a larger sum of money that might not be a capital expense. So that fund balance, you don't want to deplete that. And as far as the capital, that's the one that we aren't quite sure where the cap would be because we don't know what those future costs will be yet. But each year, that money will have to be voted by this group to determine, so everyone will have the option of saying, okay, that's enough.
And we're super cognizant that we're a voluntary membership organization. We know we can't gouge the towns or increase the assessment to a point that you leave us. So, you know, it's going to be a balancing act of trying to be able to afford the costs of maintaining this building with what we can assess the town. So we'll be
I'm just
careful.
wondering if the finance committee, with the chair's approval and the director's approval, would come back to this group here with proposals for capping both accounts and rationale for doing so.
We could do that once we get the lists created.
It's a good idea.
Any other questions for Lynn?
Well, we do have a motion.
Yeah.
I just wanted to verify the amount, 144,988.
Yes.
That's it.
All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
And my last item is the FRCOG relicensing reserve. We had set aside $15,000 to work towards the relicensing, and as I mentioned earlier, things move slowly. So that money has not been used yet, so we will most likely be coming back, and it probably won't be used by the end of this fiscal year. So we'll be coming back and asking for it to have that available again for next year.
$15,000 for FERC relicensing, which is what the council approved last quarter.
And we'll see whether it moves along then. So, but that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Lynn? Okay, thank you, Lynn. All right, next on the agenda, we have two special presentations. We have an initiative to change the prevailing wage law from Andrea Woods, and we have a cool and useful GIS work being done by the FRCOG by Ryan Clary. Andrea.
I think people are excited about the discussion of fighting for prevailing wage law changes.
Ryan. Linda asked me if there were any pressing issues in the world of procurement that might be something you'd all would be interested in. I think that you are all painfully aware of what prevailing wage means for your small projects in your towns. And I've been on the legislative panel at the Massachusetts Association for Purchasing Officials, And we bat this around a lot because it causes us a lot of aggravation. So I thought, you know, a lot of times we throw up our hands and say there's nothing we can do about it, but you know, maybe there is. Maybe with a lot of support, we can put some pressure on folks to move along some bills that some of the groups have started already. The Mass Mayors Association has been working on this. MMA has been working on it. The MSBA, the school business folks, have been working on it. But the unions are very powerful, and it doesn't ever seem to go anywhere. So I just wanted to maybe just remind you of, if you're not personally working with it, what it means to your towns. And I put in your packet a piece of useful information that I think a lot of towns don't realize is available to them. So just quickly, prevailing wage applies to anything that's construction, reconstruction, or repair. From the very first dollar, and that's what makes Massachusetts very unique, is that even if you're just having someone come in to change a light socket, you have to pay prevailing wage for that. And the problem here, and that I see a lot, is I can't get contractors to give me a quote or a price, because they don't want to pay one employee $17 an hour on their private job, and then the next day do a public job and have to pay them 36 or 40, because then there's problems within their organization. Who's going to get the public wage, you know? So that's one of the issues that I see. The other, of course, and for many of the town administrators, is it's a lot of hassle. You have to apply for it. You have to make sure that folks get it, know what in the 60-page document that you have to send out with every bid. This is what it looks like for everyone. To find the particular line in there that matches what they're doing. And then, after that, you have to collect weekly certified payroll. There's a lot of personal information on it about the employees. A lot of companies don't want to participate because they don't want to give out that information. It goes on and on and on. So, if you can avoid it, it's great. You can't always avoid it. Whenever you need to do something that you can't hire an owner-operator for, so an owner-operator means the guy's doing the work himself who owns the company, and the only other person who can work with him is an immediate family member. It's the only way you can get around it. So I would like to see us perhaps as a group send some letters out to, we believe that MMA might be the best outlet for us to use, because they're working on some legislation. But the thing I put in your packet is the topical outline of Massachusetts Prevailing Wage Law. A lot of people don't know that this exists. I typed along the top of it, the website. It's about a 60-page document. But what I gave you is the table of contents. It's a place to go if you're doing something and you want to know, do I really have to pay prevailing wage for this? Because basically it's a compendium of legal things that have happened, decisions that have been made about certain things that are fuzzy. Brian and I had an opportunity this week to look into it further with landscaping. You know, mowing with a push mower isn't. Doing something with a tractor is. Trimming a tree with a hand pruner isn't. Trimming a tree if you have to get into a bucket truck is. Laying mulch isn't. Laying soil is. It's really nuts. So if you want to go and provide this maybe to someone in your town, you might be able to find decisions in here that will be really useful for you. So that's my one little thing that I think a lot of people don't know exists. It's very useful. I use it a lot. And the other is just a demonstration. I just showed you what has to go out with every bid for construction for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. For the state of Vermont, it's this. The state of Vermont doesn't require prevailing wage until the project is $100,000. So none of this first dollar business, $100,000. New Hampshire doesn't have it at all, but we don't really live for your dollar. But Vermont has like 3 geographic areas. Just for instance, if you wanted a painter to paint your building in Brattleboro, which is in the southern Vermont, in Brattleboro, a painter, the base price, the base wage for a painter is $16 $16.50. You add .425 for their fringe benefits. You're paying a painter for a public job in Brattleboro about $23 an hour. In Greenfield, the base is 33. With fringe, it's 54. So in Brattleboro, you're paying so much less for the same thing, and we can throw a stone. So I think Vermont's law is much better. Anybody can get it. In Massachusetts, a contractor can't get this. They have to go through you to get it. They can't get online and find out what the wage is. It's not available to them. Only a town can provide it to them. In Vermont, you Google state prevailing wage, and everything is there. It's right there. You don't have to do it for unreasonably small jobs, and it makes a lot of sense. And I still think it's a living wage, So I'm hoping that we could push to try to get a more sensible prevailing wage law for us. It's an undue burden on us, time, money. It's just unreasonable. So I know that the legislative group at the purchasing organization is trying to put together some template letters.
I was just going to say,
Yeah. We have a new person from Somerville who has a lot of experience dealing with legislation, and he's trying to get us some, what will hopefully be stronger or better language than we've tried before, but I did some research in 2010, they tried to push it through in a bill in 2013, and it got nowhere. But I don't think we should give up. I think it's a serious problem that needs to be addressed, and hopefully this group, there's a lot of us here representing a big portion of Western Mass, and maybe we can do something. Yes.
I can see that Paul Mark might be very interested in this.
Yes.
I'm sure. I think he's an electrician, a former electrician.
That's right, I read that.
He might very well get me interested in it.
And I know the Mayor's Association, Bill's been working with them, and they're interested in pushing this along too. I think something like this.
Yeah, the Mayor's MMA group primarily monitors legislation that's brought forward, and it's often brought to increase the prevailing wage, which is kind of ironic in that the prevailing wage is the wage. You can't increase the prevailing wage. It is what the prevailing wage is. But the most recent one was the attempt to have porta potties fit into here for prevailing wage, and that was defeated. But it's very difficult to pass any legislation like this through the legislature if you're all naive and think they're independent. I'm sorry, that's not the way it is. There's a lot of control by the unions of the legislators, by the lobbyists, and as you know, we have the recipient of all that legislation, and your packet is evidence.
It seems like $100,000 or up to $100,000 is a reasonable path to pursue, because going after the wage rates, I don't think it's going to be a steep hill.
Not entirely, no.
Yeah, decamp certification is not required under 100,000 either, so it's logical. And to me, it seems like an easier sell.
I think that I agree with Brian. That doing something with an exemption with not only the amount, but maybe population, might be benefit to a lot of towns across the town.
I think we need to look at the amount that we would ask for, because $100,000 doesn't get you crap. With buildings today, that price is gonna go up. Maybe it's $1 million we ask for, maybe we sell them for $500, but I think you're on something really good. We've been fighting this in our towns forever, and if you could send something out to the towns to get the towns behind it, I think we can make a movement here. It has to happen. I know when I talked to Rosenberg one time and asked him about prevailing wage, he laughed at me and he said, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Most of us have to deal with the under $100,000 limit every day. We get procure repair work, and we could start with that.
Yeah, but it's nothing. We can't even paint them gold for them. $100,000. I mean, it's just nothing to me. We need to have a higher threshold on it.
Tom?
How many people in here support the $15 an hour minimum wage? If I ask for a hand, now, why is it okay for us to tell McDonald's Corporation that they have to pay $15 an hour for their help, yet we are municipalities and we're complaining because someone's telling us what we have to pay for their help? I look at a lot of minimum wage positions, and I compare them to some of the positions that are typical prevailing wage. You're talking tradesmen. You're talking plumbers that have to go to 4 years of schooling, plus they have to do 5 years of apprentice work. You're talking electricians. You're talking, you can't be a truck driver. How many people know to be a truck driver, if you have a CDL license, you have a .4 blood alcohol and you're considered driving under the influence, you lose your license. That's less than 1 beer. So I would just look in the mirror sometimes and say, how can we tell people that they have to pay $15 an hour, but when someone tells us that we have to pay $20 an hour for tradesmen, we don't like that.
But we have to pay 60.
Trust me, I know what prevailing wages are, okay? I know them very well. And prevailing wages are your entire benefits. How many people want to work without benefits? I think all of us want benefits. Benefits cost money. And when we said $60 an hour, that's including benefits. And benefits are typically 40% of your cost. So that's $20. If you got $60, that's $24 going to benefits. So I guess, there's arguments on both sides of the argument.
Hussein?
The issue with prevailing wage at this point is it is starting to become a joke. I have been involved in conversations with certain regional municipal entities where they have gotten to the point of considering, well, we'll make a deal with someone to build this for us and lease it, because that will lease it from them, because the private entity doesn't have to pay the prevailing wage, and we do. This thing it's not even a market force anymore. It's become an artificial construct whereby contractors know that if they come to the public entities, it's a different deal than if they exist in the regular market.
Any other comments or questions of Andrea?
And there are other ways to circumvent prevailing wage, and I think Deerfield is a perfect spot. You get a non-entity nonprofit to build it for and give it to them. And that's an ideal way to circumvent. The town or municipality can't afford to do it on their own, so make a deal.
Thank you, Andrea. Ryan, you're up.
While I get this set up, just a little bit about myself. I'm the senior GIS specialist here. I've worked with all of your towns numerous times.
Right.
This is my 17th year at the FRCOG.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Straight out of grade
I
school.
was going to say, you started with
Yeah.
I live in Leiden. I got 2 donkeys, a goat, 2 kids, small landscape business, which I would love to get paid prevailing wage.
You can't if you plant spread.
I'm on the IMAX team that you're talking about, so I appreciate the fact that there's something being done about that, because it's very difficult when we get called to go away, and I don't have vacation time. So what I am going to show you is the very tip of the iceberg of a project that we are beginning right now. GIS typically is associated with mapping, and mapping right now is changing, and along with everything's going to online. Everybody wants online, and so we do so many projects here at the COG, and we come up with many, many products, not just maps. And what we're trying to do is maybe push this out to the public a little bit more, so that you guys can actually see what we've done, not just on a paper map that we send you in the mail, or a report that you have to download. We want you guys to maybe see what we are doing, or what our projects consist of. And so we started with this project this year where it's a tourism, try to get more tourism in here so that somebody from out of town can come into Franklin County before they even get here and see what type of tourism is here. And then from that, I said, well, shoot, what if we put this on here? What if we put this on here? What if we put this on here? And so this is through, it's called ARC Online. And basically my goal is to put a link on our website that will let you access a map, multiple maps, that you will then be able to click in certain areas on the map itself and pick and choose what you want to put on the map. So and there's lots of bugs with this, so you might have to bear with me a little bit as I go along. So this is kind of a template of what you may see once you click this link. And what I have loaded in so far is, turn all these off. Here's Franklin County right now. So if you were to maybe want to come up to Franklin County vacationing or whatnot, even if you're not vacation, and you want to see, what do we have for bikeways? Okay, here's all our bikeway routes. And so then you can click this, and it also shows you the names of the bikeway routes. So aside from that, if you want to just see, all right, let's zoom in to this one right here. Well, what is it? So you click on this one, and it says, oh, this is the Shutesbury loop. It's intermediate. It's this many miles. Well, what does this mean? More info. Click on this. This will then bring you to the map that I created, the bikeway map of Eastern Franklin County. So then, you can go back out and you can now download this, print it if you'd like to. So that's just, and that's available, that would be available for all the routes. Say you wanted to see, well, I got all the bikeways, that's cool. What am I going to see while I'm out here? Well, I've added these in. These are just sample photos that I've taken while out on the road. But if you click right on that, it'll show you, there's a picture of Berkshire East, just from the road that you're going to be traveling along. You can close that back up. Here's, right here in Greenfield, I forget what this one is. This is along, this is along the Riverside path there, Riverside Greenway path. So now you've looked at those, and my goal would be to have themes. So there would be kind of a tourism theme map link. So you click on there, there's all your tourism things. And then maybe a project link, which would show, I don't know if you guys are aware of Complete Streets projects going on right now. Everything is not complete. Pardon the pun. But say, Sunderland, we just did a whole bunch of maps for Sunderland, some grants down there. So if you click on this, you can see, well, what's going on right here? Well, the project status, there is no project status right now, but this is the map we created for this section right here. So you can easily take a look at that. Instead of going back to, you're a town administrator or town clerk or select board, where's that map? Where is that? You can go on here and easily just take a look and see what's here. And then, let me go back out. So some of them I actually had, I think it was Coleraine, I believe. Coleraine or Wheatley. Yeah, the project status, this was a recommendation. So this was, and it goes down here and tell you what was going on back then. I don't know if it necessarily has a date. But these were all obviously sent to your town at some point, but now I'm trying to get them all up on here. And then, obviously this is not in order because I have yet to kind of put this all together. So then, again, say you're trying to figure out, FRTA routes. What are the routes? Here's all the FRTA routes. Now, if you click right, on one of these, it'll tell you what the route number is. Route 22, well, where does that go? Let's check this out, and it brings you right to the FRTA website for Route 22. So then it's all right here. You don't have to come down here and grab a map out of here or go to the FRTA website, although you can. That's just, one more example of the things we'd like to get. Again, you want to take the train. okay, well, here's the Amtrak line. Well, if you click on the Amtrak line, what is this? Oh, it's the Vermonter. Great. Click on that, it brings you to the Vermonter. And this is all, obviously there's a lot that goes into this on the back end in putting this all together. And then kind of just real quickly back to tourism, New England Trail, and all these would be labeled, very clearly on the map. There would be labels, click here, click here. This is that scenic trail running through from Long Island Sound all the way up to Mount Nadnock. And this brings you right to their website. And, I would like to eventually, I hiked this whole thing, GPS this entire thing. I'd love to have all my photos put on here too. What are you going to see? We're currently working on the Mohican Mohawk Trail. That map is almost done, basically from Deerfield all the way out to North Adams. That map would be on here with photos. You want to ride your bike again? Here's all recently purchased bike racks and installed bike racks that we did through, I forget which program it was, but I've been able to just add these on here, and this will tell you where it is, how many, 2 racks, 2 spaces, and whatnot. And then if you click on this, it'll show you the actual picture. There it is. There's what that bike rack looks like. So you want to plan a trip to Gill, wherever that is, the Gilltown Forest, you can go in there. And then the next part of it is recreation. We have so much recreation in Franklin County, hiking, snowmobiling, everything. So I've slowly been putting this all together so that, say you want to go to Deerfield, I only have 3 towns up here right now, but if you want to go to Deerfield, well, what is this right here? Obviously it's Sugarloaf, but you click on that, it tells you, oh, if there is a website, I would have a website here. If not, I have a map. So this would, there's my first bug. That's not working. Northfield, they have the mountain project here. So you can go onto their website if you want, or you can click onto the map, and this will then lead you to the map of their trails and whatnot, which we also produce that. Again, that's for all of this. I'm trying to get as much recreation on here as I can. Heath, for instance. Heath I have because that was one of the first towns I did. The Benson Place, that comes from, I think it was Franklin Land Trust, where they helped. And, here's their site. And then if you just wanted just a simple map of it, or their brochure, whatever, here's their brochure. It's upside down. And then there's also, you got to be careful. Some of these spots are very small. I know where they are, but here's this little one. This is the Betty Maitland Memorial Forest, and this will bring you to that information and a little map. So that's recreation. But now, obviously, we do more than just recreation here. You talked about traffic counts. I'm the one that actually goes out there. Some of you may have seen me. I install all the traffic counters. So the goal would be, since our new transportation planner, Lori Scarborough, I shouldn't say new, she's been here for a while, we've been working really closely together to get very consistent numbers and figure out what's changing. So here's 2005 numbers. If you're interested to see, what was going on here in 2015, click on this and it says, okay, here's route number, where did I actually put the counter, and then this was the actual annual daily traffic for that street number, or for that point right there. 2016, obviously we go all over the county, and not every year we're going to put the same ones out. Monroe here's, this was 262, but then you can see I've also added in the percentage of trucks. Some of this language may change once I get it all approved by everyone. And so this way it gives you in the town, the town officials, a way to look at this without actually having to make a phone call or without actually having to go back through all your paperwork. So we're eventually going to have different themes, like I said. This is very new to us, but we need to start moving in a direction of more online type of getting information out. You know, and who knows what else we may be able to do on here. Ideas are always welcome. Time is always not necessarily there for me, just with responsibilities, but that's basically what I wanted to show you. And then just one more little feature, which is kind of neat. You know, obviously you can zoom all the way in, but then you can change your background. Say I want imagery instead of a map, so I can put this on here. It shows you right where I put that traffic count. One last thing, it's up here. Yes, there it is. I'm working on now. Just today, I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice? I always work with Jim Cerrone and Jim Hawkins on zoning and where the floodplains are and what zone is this particular parcel in. Well, we could put parcels on here. Every town has digital parcels now for the Commonwealth. So if you want to figure out what zone you're in, I was only able to get Berniston in today. You know, you click this drop down, it tells you what their zone is. Or if you don't want to even go that far, what zone is this? You know, click on here, it's residential 1 acre. Now, I don't have the regulations for that on here, but if you're in the town, you want to know, you can. Again, you could switch this background to be satellite imagery, just to see, where is that house? Is that house right in there or not? And that's just up here. Obviously, there'll be directions on how to do all this. Just quickly, that was really what I wanted to show you, kind of what I've been slowly working on and in some spare time, trying to take other projects and move it to this one, you know, so that I'm not doing double work.
Ryan?
Yes.
Very cool and very useful.
I don't know. I can't talk prevailing wage. Any comments for Ryan?
I think that's wonderful. I really, really appreciate it because I think one of the problems is we never have, or we're always looking for information to support whatever we're trying to do.
Right.
And having access to these maps is really helpful.
Well, and some of, this is a wide range. It's, all the way from zoning, complete streets to bikes. So, any feedback that I can get, what else would be cool to put up there?
And useful.
Opportunities.
And useful,
Michael, you have a comment?
Questions. Have any of towns you're working with regarding zoning been open to presenting digital representations of a plan or a development plan, for instance, rather than going to copycat and getting
It's a good idea.
3 foot?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had that personally, I'm kind of the end of the line when it comes to zoning. I don't decide on what's zoned what. I just get the information from the town meeting or just today, I think I made a map for Charlemont with their medical marijuana overlay and solar, I believe that's big.
I'm talking about, like, as a person who's working on a plan, individual development plan, rather than having to go to copycat and print out 10 copies, 3 foot wide or whatever, I could hand them
a shape file basically of that.
Yeah, we would have to get it in digital. We don't have a large scale scanner.
But
So
even a
if you
PDF.
could get it in digital format, then we could translate it onto the system. Right.
So I think what you're saying is, if there's a certain plan for part of the town, we want to zone this some
No,
certain
I think
district.
talking about like subdivision
Yeah, that's not what I was
proposals.
I'm saying. As an individual developer, I'd like to hand them a flash stick. And
I absolutely think it could be possible. You would have a star on where you want to put your development, say, and then you click on the star, and then the plan comes up rather than a picture, the actual PDF comes up.
well, I'd like even more than that, but
I
that's
think it's
down.
possible.
More details.
Jim, you have something?
Just a comment, is possible way to enhance some revenue on recreational things like hotels or restaurants if they want to have
To
a
stay.
Stag them, yep, on there, and they can have someplace to modify their menus or whatever.
That's always a tough spot for me here, or a tough question, I'd say, because you don't ever want to leave someone out. You know, for like this Mohawk Mohican Trail, I wanted to put, you know, all the rafting companies on there.
I would say, what I'm suggesting is having them, if they want to be on the map, paying
They
for
come
that.
pay for me,
like
yeah.
they would For Yellow Pages.
Make the checkout
Stuff,
line
right.
clear.
Right, exactly. You know, it's absolutely possible. I don't know the tape you have to go through
This is.
to have a public agency do that. That's always been a problem with, where do you draw that line? Do we put hotels on there and their names and phone numbers and their rates? You know, we're not necessarily Google where we can do that, because Google gets that revenue. That, you know, you want to pay Google to be at the top of the, as soon as you search for a hotel in Franklin County, you pay for that. So I don't know how that would work. I think it'd be a great idea, but I don't necessarily know. They could definitely happen on here. We can definitely do that.
Tom?
It'd be interesting to, Ryan, I think it is way cool, but it'd be nice if you look for economic development, if you could talk to the towns, and you could put categories together, like you could say, okay, Greenfield has the following, in Greenfield, the following parcels are available: 1 acre, 3 acres, 7 acres. We have the following: we have three-phase power, 480 three-phase power. We have water main. We have an 8-inch water main that provides with 4,000 gallons per minute. And that's how we have to start marketing ourselves as a region. And all of a sudden, if you have this information, businesses can look, incubators can start looking and say, hey, I can just go to that website and I can find all these places in Franklin County: Charlemont, Sunderland, Deerfield, Irving.
Right.
And I think that would be it's a great tool. We can't do, you can do it as an individual town, but the town of Sunderland's is small potatoes. Franklin County, we have a large surface area, and we have many utilities, the water, the electricity, and the infrastructure that are in place right now that we could do that.
Well, just to add to that, right now we're working on a Route 5 and 10 corridor study area, and one of our interns is collecting that data. Where are all the vacant lots? And not only vacant lots, but what's there? Wetlands? Is it in the natural heritage stuff? Does it have water? Does it have sewer? So, that's just that's just 2 towns, Whately and Deerfield. But at the same time, I get what you're saying. That would be on you. Here's all your vacant lots that are, and then you can color code them. These are the ones that have water and sewer. These are the ones that just have water. Or you just click on it and it tells you all that information.
Michelle?
I just was thinking about the recreation part. You should team up with the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce for the maps. I was very impressed of all the big posters at Logan Airport, Mohawk Trail, come to Franklin County. Every time I go there, I feel like, wow, I'm at home already, and it's 2 hours away. They're beautiful.
I've got a binder upstairs that's like this, full of every recreation thing I can find. And not only that, but I go out and I look, what is it necessarily in Northfield? What is in Charlemont? What is in, and there's so much that's out there, and trying to collect all that, get it together, that's the time-consuming part. So I need someone to try and collect all of that information, that's on the web, so that you can then click on it and bring you right there, rather than you do the research. We've done it for you. So I'm getting there.
What I'm thinking is, if you team up with, let the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce know this is where people could go.
Any other comments for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks,
All right, next item on the agenda, business not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance. Do we have any?
I have a matter, but I don't want to go until last because this might be a bit lengthy, and if anyone wants to walk out, they can.
I just want to make a statement. It will be 1 year next month that Great River Hydro bought the dams on the Deerfield River and the Connecticut River from TransCanada. And FERC transferred that license to them, and they still have not produced an emergency action plan. All of us have in our SEM plans outdated, disconnected numbers from TransCanada, and this is very, very serious, and just want it in the minutes.
Beth gave us an update earlier on how the committee's going, the climate change ad hoc voluntary committee. Do you have any comments to add to that?
Just that, we need to keep working together, and so there's no duplication of effort, and that we leverage all our money. I just got an email from Kimberly this morning. I had answered it. She actually sent it yesterday, and I answered it this morning because I was gone yesterday. But, she needs some leverage money for the 319 that she's working on in the North River. Could she use the Franklin Conservation District grant money from the environmental bond bill? And that, absolutely, there's no issue, but that's $42,000 match that, she was aware of because we communicate. But one of the reasons I think this is important to do this as a group is to just be able to communicate what everybody is doing. And so there's no duplication of effort, and every dollar is leveraged to the maximum, and that we all know so that we can keep chugging around.
Thank you.
That's really my basic
Hussein?
Now, this is a formal statement. I'm going to read it, and I'll email it to the secretary as well if anyone wants to receive a copy of it later. This pertains to the executive committee's decision on Middle Road and Hawley. On behalf of the Hawley Board of Selectmen, I am formally registering our protest to the recent decision by the Executive Committee to grant the petition by the Department of Conservation and Recreation to discontinue a portion of Middle Road running through the Dubuque State Forest in Hawley. It is to be noted that this decision implicated a matter occurring exclusively within Hawley's town boundaries and did not affect any other community. That said, it is also to be noted that the Hawley Board of Selectmen has repeatedly and unambiguously gone on record opposing the discontinuance of this road as a county road under the presently existing circumstances. The portion of the road in question was maintained by the town of Hawley with great competence until December of 1982. At that time, the Department of Environmental Management, predecessor to the present-day Department of Conservation and Recreation, successfully sought a town meeting vote from Hawley whereby the town turned over responsibility for the road to the DEM. Technically, as we later found out, this vote was invalid because the road was a county road and not a town road. Nevertheless, no one seemed to know this at the time, including the DEM. As part of their 1982 bid to have the town turn the road over, the DEM gave strong assurances to the town that it would maintain these roads. While this promise was kept initially for a very brief period, in the long term it was not honored. Over the years, Middle Road and several other roads in the state forest, formerly maintained by the town, fell into disrepair as the DEM and later the DCR effectively ignored them. Although the town, on at least 2 occasions, considered intervening to maintain these roads at its own expense, we were informed, including by local council, that it would be illegal for us to do so. In August of 2011, Tropical Storm Irene effectively obliterated the section of Middle Road now at issue. It is probable that the road would not have been damaged to the extent it was if it had been regularly maintained and had the involved culverts and ditches been kept clear. These failures may be attributed directly to DCR's negligence. The issue we are discussing tonight has arisen from a project recently approved by DCR to repair Middle Road. This is happening more than 6 years after Irene rendered the road impassable, thereby seriously interrupting recreational activities and inhibiting the ability of both regular citizens and, more importantly, emergency responders to go about their business in the vicinity. This project only came after years of vigorous advocacy by Hawley Town officials requiring us to involve our legislative delegation and the governor's office. Such efforts should never have been necessary merely to get DCR to do its job, at least though progress was being made. After several meetings with high-level members of DCR's administrative leadership, including Commissioner Leo Roy, whose efforts I must tell you we do truly appreciate, The town of Holly and DCR worked out an agreement whereby DCR would rebuild Middle Road and the town would carry out subsequent general maintenance. While DCR agreed to provide some gravel and fill materials, the town was not to receive additional funding to carry out this work. Although this was a less than ideal concession from Holly's end and does represent DCR going back on the promise made 35 years ago, we went along with it because it was the best deal we were likely to get. As DCR flat out admitted to us, and decades of experience have proven, DCR lacks the resources and expertise to carry out this maintenance work on its own. As a town, we recognized all too well that the repair project, which was in our interests from a public safety perspective, would only be worthwhile if the road was maintained afterwards. This brings us to the current problem. Somewhere in the negotiation process, DCR realized that the portion of Middle Road they wished to repair was still designated as county road. It did not belong to DCR, as they had once believed, and from their point of view, it could not be repaired until it did. All I can say is that I wish someone would have told us that in the 1990s, when we considered doing our own maintenance, and were told not to, or directly after Tropical Storm Irene, when we could have applied for FEMA and MEMA funding to do the repairs ourselves, assuming the road still belonged to us. But sadly, everyone, DCR included, believed until very recently that the road belonged to DCR. DCR therefore decided that, preparatory to undertaking its repair project, it would petition FRCOG to discontinue the status of the portion of Middle Road that runs through the state forest as a county road. This would cause the property to revert to the abutting landowner, the DCR. FRCOG's executive committee is the only body with the authority to make this decision. What DCR did not take into consideration, and what the town of Holly soon discovered, was that the act of discontinuing this road portion would result in Holly losing Chapter 90 highway funding it had been receiving for those road miles all along, yet another surprise in this 35-year saga. The funding at risk of being lost would be in excess of $8,000 per year according to current figures. No small amount for a town with a budget of approximately $1 million a year. To add insult to injury, we would be losing this state money allocated for maintenance of this road at exactly the same time as we would be taking on greater maintenance responsibilities for the very same road at the request of the state. The Holly Select Board has repeatedly insisted that this funding issue must be resolved and the town must be held harmless for any loss of Chapter 90 money before the road is discontinued. Ultimately, as much as we would like to see this road repaired, we have survived without it for more than 6 years. We are already going to be taking on additional costs to maintain it. Maintaining it and having our funding cut at the same time is too much to ask. We have had a number of conversations about this matter, including with Representative Paul Mark. Representative Mark has suggested he might be able to advance some kind of legislative solution to hold the town harmless for this loss of funding. However, this solution has not as yet materialized, and any future solutions are speculative at best. Unfortunately, Representative Mark has also repeatedly pressured us and the Executive Committee to turn the road over now and just trust the state to come up with a financial solution later. We have heard this kind of language many times before. Just trust the state and everything will be okay. In this case, our answer has consistently been not until the solution has actually happened, not until everything actually is okay. In the estimation of our select board, it is not only imprudent, but downright insane to sacrifice funding we currently have in reality in return for extra maintenance responsibilities and a glimmer of hope, not even that we will be getting more money, but merely that we may not lose the money we already have. We have seen a lot of big talk from the state about funding in the past on everything from schools to broadband to payments in lieu of taxes, and we have learned the hard way that financial assurances from the state cannot be taken at face value. At this point, now that DCR has had its way and been cleared to proceed with its project, there is much less incentive for the state to come through with more money. Once again, this is an issue that essentially affects only Holly, and Holly's local elected officials have been clear as to our expectations. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and I am afraid that the Executive Committee, under pressure from DCR and Representative Mark, both of whom should remember that they work for us and not the other way around, and both of whom appear to regard this project as a public relations imperative, just let Holly's bird go. Fortunately, at the wise insistence of Holly's Select Board, the memorandum of agreement that we signed with DCR to maintain this road includes a provision explicitly stating that all town maintenance obligations are subject to town funding. So, to be clear, DCR can rebuild this road. However, if the Chapter 90 issue is not resolved and we end up taking a financial loss, this road will not end up being maintained by us. Thank you.
Bill, do you have any comment?
Well, yeah, the executive committee has a basic charge that we are to respond to petitions based on public convenience and necessity. We were given this petition and we followed our procedure by opening a hearing and to see if there were any, basically the hearings or to hear people's questions or problems about the petition and to receive any formal objections to the petition. At the request of a number of people, we delayed this hearing for a better part of a year. We kept every meeting, we would open the hearing and move it to a date certain of the next meeting or 2 months to allow the negotiation and conversations to go forward. What we looked at is the necessity of having this road repaired, which we decided was in the benefit of the public convenience and necessity. We are aware of the fact that notwithstanding the Chapter 90 money, that the repair of the road is coming in at a budget of about $1.5 million. This is what we've been told. So we went ahead and at the point that we were told that Hawley and DCR had come to an agreement on maintenance of the road, and that DCR was prepared to go ahead with the construction of it, from our point of view, this was sufficient for us to move ahead on the discontinuance. One of the things that I want to point out is that we have never formally been given an objection. We have had none of this information formally presented at a hearing. Nobody from Hawley's Select Board or any other have showed up and made any testimony at the hearing, and that is the procedure which we follow, and so we made the decision to discontinue the road. As far as we're concerned, that's the end of this conversation.
So are you telling me that you never received any of the memoranda that were sent from us through Mr. Dean via email in response to Mr. Dean's solicitation of information as to our current position on the matter?
I'm not going to get into that now. It's late. If you want to discuss it at some future point, that's fine. But we have not had a submission to the hearing, in the hearing, of any objections.
So you did not receive those emails?
Sure. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Notwithstanding this particular town-specific situation, I've always found it unusual that the county maintains ownership of these roads with no maintenance staff, no engineering, no highway supervisors, no department at all. And the only way to release these particular county roads back to the towns is to petition the executive committee. So this evening I learned that street in Greenfield, Woodard Road, a homeowner petitions the county, petitions the executive committee to move a house on that street. So let me finish. So there may be conditions in there whereby that particular homeowner is going to notify the town or the DPW or the bus routes or our school buses and so on, but I don't know, and that bothers me. So I want to suggest that the executive committee and the FRCOG take it upon themselves to abandon all the county roads, give them back to each town and city, and whatever that cost may be, break it down to each town and city, and let that town and city decide to spend that money to take back their roads. It's really out of hand with the number of weird type of town roads that exist, and we don't even know about. For in Greenfield, Court Square is owned by the county, and that's ridiculous. And to have Woodard Road owned by the county and have this happen is, even though we've tried to work through the petition process with 3 different DPW people with the executive committee, it hasn't worked out. But I think it should be the other way around. I think the county should abandon the roads, give them back to the towns and cities. It adds to our Chapter 90 miles. It's all a benefit to everyone else except for the executive committee.
I'm fine with that, except to say that you already get the Chapter 90 money. The Chapter 90 money for every county road is already allocated to every town, to be clear on that.
The other thing is...
But I'm more than fine to
The
have a
other thing is,
conversation.
20 years ago, we took that suggestion under advisement, and it led to what was a 2 or 2.5 year study of what would happen if the county were just to blanket all the roads. And it was a fairly costly potential for the towns. At that time, the law did not allow the county on its own to discontinue the road. And the only way that the road got discontinued was that it reverted back to the landowners. It did not become anything else. We rewrote the legislation at that time. Spent an awful lot of time, quite frankly, and money, rewriting the legislation so that if a road was discontinued, the town had the choice of having it revert to the landowners, having it, the town accepted the road as its own, or it could accept it as a statutory private way. That legislation eventually was passed. One of the things that happens when, if you discontinue a road and it just goes away, is in a large number of circumstances, frontage is lost on property, which is damage to the property owner who had frontage, now no longer has a legal building lot. That town could, that landowner could sue and look for compensation for damages. It was virtually impossible to figure out at the time who had what, how those things were handled. So a mass discontinuance of all of the roads was not possible. Legally, it was not possible for the county to just back away and say, okay, all the roads belong to the towns. A lot of the towns didn't want specific roads. So the way we ended up doing it, and this is after a huge amount of work, is to come up with the present system where the petitions are made, the criteria under which the decisions are made is traditional, going back many, many years. We didn't touch that at all. But we did work out a system where it allowed the town's choice in how that road ended up. So that we have a lot of the towns and the state have found it beneficial to use us in these various petitions to handle right-of-way work, compensation for land taken, things like that, which we end up doing. And so that's where we ended up now. I mean, the discussion of just handing the roads over was one that was had a long time ago, and we spent an extraordinary amount of time looking at it with 2 very, very fairly well-known and experienced land lawyers, Michael Hill being one, and can't remember the name of the other,
Alexander
it's
Dawson.
deceased, but
Oh, Alexander Dawson.
Alexander Dawson was the other. It was a series of extraordinary meetings, but that's where we ended up, and that is the basis on which we make our decisions now.
So how could a town get a list of all the county roads and their boundaries?
There are lists that we have in, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the former county engineers created an index of the ones that they knew about. So that's located here upstairs in our records room. You know, that anytime there's an action taken since then, I've updated it. But, you know, as you know, back in 1700s, 1800s, they never named the roads. You know, it was from Colonel Turner's house to the meeting house, you know, that kind of stuff. So it may not be that that's a complete and accurate list.
Well, I'm sure what Bill Allen saw in the last 120 years.
Yeah.
Was able to put together a good list.
It is, oh, sorry.
Zach, did you have a comment?
Oh, yeah, before the county gives the road to anyone else, are the towns given right of first refusal?
Well, it's not a question of the town giving the road. The town,
County giving the road.
the county giving the road. The county, there are 5 different actions that the county can take with the road by petition. There's layout, there's
Discontinuance, alterations,
Discontinue-
specific repairs, and abandonment.
abandonment. So those are the 5 things that we're able to do. So if somebody needs to straighten or approach to a bridge on a county road, we can handle that.
But when a petition comes in, the town and all the butters are notified.
Right, everybody is notified. There is generally a site visit if needed, and then there's a public hearing, and it's during that hearing process that anybody can come and make whatever comments in favor or opposed to the action that's being taken. In the town, if it's a discontinuance, the town has the ability to accept the road or to say they're not interested, or if under pressure from homeowners who want to maintain frontage but not require the town to maintain the road, then it can become a statutory private way.
So the towns, before a road is abandoned, the towns are given the option.
Oh, absolutely.
It's-
Absolutely. We don't,
In the case of Holly, the town had the option to take, you know, to accept that road
yeah.
as a town road instead of let it go to DCR.
The problem was, as I understand, the DCR wouldn't work on the road unless it owned it. And that was the purpose behind the discontinuance. When you discontinue a road, nobody wants it or accepts it. It reverts.
Right.
So since the forest DCRs on both sides of the road, they would get the road and then they could do what they wanted. But the other thing to remember is the executive committee never initiates a road action. We never decide this is something which should happen. Everything that we do is based on petition.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so.
Michelle, you have the last comment?
Well, I just wanted to say, 20 years ago, I was here too, and it was a huge problem for Leiden. We have at least 4 private ways because of that. These were very nice homes being built, and if we had abandoned it, they would have lost all their road frontage. So it would open a can of worms for the small town.
One short comment.
I just want to go on record stating, I do not agree that the executive committee was not informed. There was a memorandum signed and subsequent to fact and emailed to Mr. Dean in response to the question on March 8th. The relevant section says, the select board continues to oppose discontinuing Middle Road until a workable solution to Chapter 9 problem is in place. The receipt was acknowledged. Another email was sent on April 9th at the next meeting to the same effect. Receipt of that was also acknowledged. As far as I'm concerned, you were constructively notified of our position, and I think it would be ridiculous to say that anyone was unaware.
Okay, thank you, Hussein. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Okay, thank you all for coming.
All of our productions at GCTV are sponsored in part by Bay State Health, providing the care you and your family need when you need it close to home. Visit them online at baystatehealth.org. Greenfield Savings Bank. Visit them at 400 Main Street in Greenfield. Call them at 774-3191 or go online to greenfieldsavings.com. Greenfield Community College, providing access and excellence in higher education in the Pioneer Valley. Visit them at gcc.mass.edu. The Hammond Family. The Hammond family are longtime supporters of Greenfield Community Television. New Fortune Chinese Restaurant on the Mohawk Trail in Greenfield. Visit them online at newfortunema.com. Call them at 772-0838 and check them out on Facebook. Real Cleaning Services, cleaning Hampshire and Franklin County since 1972. We don't cut corners, we clean them. Check them out online at realclean.com. Call them at 413-422-1143. People's United Bank, located at 45 Federal Street in Greenfield. You can call them at 774-3713 or visit them online at peoples.com. The Solar Store of Greenfield, replacing fossil fuels and nuclear power one home at a time. Visit them at 23 Fisk Ave. Call them at 413-772-3122 or visit them online at solarstoreofgreenfield.com. Thank you to our sponsors for supporting all of GCTV's productions.